Thank you for joining us for yet another review. At this point in time, it's undeniable that the Amazons' The Rings of Power is a $1 billion fail. I didn't want to judge the show on the first episodes because, well, I kept hoping, expecting something interesting to happen. Being a Lord of the Ring fan, I had such high hopes for this series that it took 6 episodes to make me drop the towel. At this point, I can no longer defend it. I came across a lot of negative reviews online, some utterly just racist whereas others are just relatable. One YouTuber was actually so emotional about this, you would swear Galadriel reminds him of a bad relationship. Yes, Galadriel. But we will get to that shortly. While the Lords of the Rings trilogy made about $3 billion worldwide, The Rings of Power is about to become a $1 billion disaster. Yes, that is actually how much Amazon is expected to spend on the 5 seasons. But I decided to summarize all the problems in this show into just 5 major points. 1. The story is poorly written. That's pretty clear by now that the storyline has some serious inconsistencies. First of all, The Rings of Power is set 3,000 years before the movies, which take place during the Third Age. The story chronicles the events of the forging of the Rings of Power, the rise of the Dark Lord Sauron, and the last alliance between men and elves, while not trying to be a reimagining of the film trilogy. The Rings of Power is intended to simply borrow from different aspects of many of Tolkien's Middle-earth stories, and blend them together to create its own storyline and narrative structure. This is where it gets confusing. I mean, for people who are very familiar with the original film, we find ourselves being able to relate and not being able to relate at the same time. The writers of the story failed to consistently connect the dots leading to that wow moment. 2. The scenes are a drag. The first scenes of Episode 1 that introduced that to the amazing sceneries through some high-quality CGI, are the best this show had to offer. From there onwards, scenes feel empty and without substance, making it easy to fall asleep at just about any part of the film. The action scenes are often dilutes with exaggerated slow motion, and emotional scenes are just not convincing enough. 3. Key characters do not live up to expectations. As early as Episode 1, the audience should have been able to connect with key characters in the film, which creates a bond between the viewer and the show. Most characters are like emotionless animations trying to fit in a place they don't belong. For instance, Eärendil the elf soldier, who for some reason is left behind by his squad, takes it upon himself to defend a village of helpless peasants. He is one of the main action characters. However, he doesn't deeply connect with the audience, he's a man of few words. His relationship with Bronwyn, the love interest, shows no chemistry whatsoever. Instead, the couple looks a lot more like a high school teenage love. This leads us to
Galadriel of the Noldor.
Oh.
Daughter of the Golden House of Finarfin. Commander of the Northern Armies of High King Gil-galad.
4. The lead character has a villain mentality. The concept of the film is to chronicle the struggle between good and evil in the battle for Middle-earth. Instead, what unfolds in this first season is all about Galadriel using this narrative to promote her pursuit for the revenge of her brother's death. A cause for which she is ready to sacrifice everything and everybody within her reach. Besides just being an overly unpleasant person who feels that she owes nothing to life and that the world has to bow to her feet, Galadriel is manipulative.
There is a tempest in me, and it will not be quelled by you, Regent.
This is how she convinces Halbrand to join her in a war that will return him to a past he walked away with so much pain, and convinced Queen Muriel to go against all their traditions and sail a fleet of ships to a battle even though Númenor has distanced itself from the rest of the world and stay peaceful for hundreds of years. In all, Galadriel is a master of deception who will use all in her power, including guilt trip and emotional blackmail, to lure people to follow a cause that is likely to mostly benefit her. This is not what most people want or expect from their movie heroine.
Who is this mortal who speaks to me as if he has the slightest idea who I am?
In fact, the character of Galadriel is far from being a heroine, despite the one-man show she puts up in few absurd action scenes. If Hollywood's new idea of a strong woman as a leading character is to end up with an obnoxious self-absorbed character that knows it all, I guess the writers got this one right. The film concept shouldn't assume that everyone has watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Having said that, it would have prompted the writers to better introduce the characters both old and new, more like starting on a fresh leaf. Although the people behind the show didn't want it to be a remake of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it is literally ambiguous to try do a prequel with a story that does not completely reconcile with the main story. After all is said and done, in my opinion, unless the writers give the storyline a serious turn or get fired for the next season of The Rings of Power, and the concept of Galadriel as a lead character is revisited, the show may not make it to 5 seasons. As it already stands, The Rings of Power is in fact the most expensive TV show ever made. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below, and please do like and subscribe for upcoming videos like this. Thank you for watching.
Where I run and how I run there are none of your concern. Anywhere is better than here.